We are the most robust psychometric assessment on the market today. The vehicle that SurePeople owns is called the Prism. It measures six, if you count personality under pressure, seven different module or construct areas. That's two deeper than any of the other traditional psychometrics you mentioned. Now,
GTMAI podcast with Jonathan Moss and Coach K. Tune in now, don't delay. Catch the future on display. In a world
Good
of
evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. I am Jonathan Kvarfordt, and this is the GTM AI podcast. So excited to get going once again. I have the privilege of talking to Russell Mikowski, CEO of SurePeople.com. How are you, my friend?
doing well. Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I actually found your tech a little while ago because I was looking at AI personality stuff, and yours popped up from a recommendation from a friend. And I just saw you last week do a demo for the Pavilion group, which was awesome to see you kind of do your demo thing for the group there. It was fun to moderate and kind of learn the other side of it, because I saw it from the website side, then I got to listen to you talk about it, which is fascinating. So I'm really excited because this whole personality realm is something I'm definitely not an expert in, but I love the topic. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it with you. But before I do, I want to dive into more about you. So like, just looking at you, obviously you're the CEO of SurePeople. You're an advisory board member for Symphony Talent, CRO there as well. Worked with I can never say this right. Bizzabo, can never say that right. And then president of Sapia AI North America. So you've been in the space for a while, which is awesome. I could go on for a while about this kind of stuff, but I want to know more about you as a person. And I know that my community loves to know you kind of more as a human as well. So if you don't mind, if we can start off by just telling me, like, what is your journey that's the non-LinkedIn, non-resume version of how you got to be where you are, why you choose this crazy world of AI, and what your passion and your superpower is.
Yeah, I appreciate that lead, Jonathan. I come from a very non-typical background, as many of us in the startup space do. I went to college at Hofstra in Long Island, New York, where I studied English and marketing. Don't really directly use much of what I learned in university in my day-to-day today, but I was also a full-time DJ and producer during that.
Nice.
I DJ'd in 30 something countries, actually produced tracks that were signed by labels, ran that whole gigging lifestyle for a few years. My first real job was actually as the editor to a Project Sound and Recording Studio magazine. So I had a very, non-linear path into sales. I've always been interested in tech, gadgetry. That applies very nicely to the production world.
Totally.
Also a very avid poker player. I played nearly full time for about 2 years before really getting into the adulting journey.
It's definitely the most eclectic background I've heard from a CEO. This is awesome. Keep going. This is rad.
But this is not uncommon feedback that I get. Well, we get into my quote unquote origin story, but
Right.
at a certain moment in time, the woman who was selling classified advertising for the magazine that I was writing articles about DJ gear for, I was going out on maternity leave. I wasn't making a lot of money at my day job. It was about 22 grand a year, kind of showing my age a bit here, but I had an old-time associate editor. I was making $22,000 a year living in New York City.
Wow.
I'd heard about these huge commission checks the salespeople were making. So I was like, hey, can I try that while she's on maternity leave? I did a pretty good job and kind of spun up from there. That led into a career of sales leadership for early stage, typically venture PE-backed businesses. I have a son who's 12 years old and is obsessed with football. He's playing year-round, training year-round. I'm very into athletics myself. I play a number of sports, try to stay active, work out, and, trying to stay abreast of what's going on at this, moment in time that I feel is akin to, or maybe even more, exponentially impactful on humanity than the industrial revolution. And that's the AI revolution, right? You're well versed in and well focused on. It takes a lot of time to stay up to speed. I don't consider myself to be an expert, but need to keep myself as knowledgeable as possible.
I love it. So I'm a rocker. So I come to the rock world, and I toured and have music on Fox Sports and NBC football and all this kind of stuff, and played and sang behind some major people. Hearing your DJ thing, like, I always want to be a DJ, I'm not, obviously, but watching people like you do your DJ thing was always fascinating to me because from the tech side, you could mix it in and do tempos, and it's just the coolest thing ever. So sorry, this is like totally off the base of this podcast, but whatever, I'm going to tell you anyway. So I had a band that we did a cover band where we did a live DJ where we'd have people pick random songs and we had to figure out as a band live of how to mix them together. And it was the funnest thing ever to do because sometimes it was horrible and other times it worked and it was so cool to do it, you know? So anyways, kind of fun to have this DJ world.
Yeah.
Tell me sorry, what'd you say?
I love that connection. I was going to ask, are you familiar with the Gig or EQ magazine by any chance?
Yeah.
That was the same publishing house that I worked for back in the Stone Age.
That's amazing. The Stone Age is
world here.
That's amazing, man. I love it. Tell me this for people who are like, obviously didn't give a whole lot of information on SurePeople on purpose. Cause I want to know like from the man himself, tell me what's the problem that you're solving for and why is this the thing you wanted to kind of dive into to solve for?
Yeah. So I've always prided myself. You asked for my superpower earlier, and I think that's manifested over the course of my career due to some great mentorship from folks that I owe a ton to, who really instilled in me how important it is to approach leadership in a very individualized way relative to who you're dealing with, who you're lead, who you're being led by, and that importance for understanding individuals' unique traits, characteristics, communication preferences has always had me really interested in the psychometric assessment world, because what better way to understand someone than if they pour their guts out through the process of answering, a half hour's worth of DISC, Myers-Briggs, Hogan, StrengthsFinder questions, with the result and output being a kind of like a personality depiction of that individual. So I've always been, very interested in those kinds of vehicles. But as we look at traditional assessments today and the way modern businesses operate, I think it's a market that's incredibly ripe for disruption, because while it's cool to head into a leadership offsite with our small group of 10 and take a traditional assessment, we learn more about ourselves, maybe a little bit more about each other. We kind of know because we work together frequently. We don't learn about the people at the organization that we don't know, those that we interact with less frequently. We also don't have a way for that people intelligence, quote unquote, to carry with it long-term ROI, because the results of those assessments are often metaphorically stuffed into our desk drawers, sometimes literally in manila folders, and kind of die there, right? So SurePeople is looking to completely disrupt the traditional psychometric world by democratizing access to psychometrics across entire organizations, and then infusing the value of those preferences, that people intelligence, the uniqueness of each individual, into the flow of work via some proprietary tools that we've developed, and then also via integrations with collaborative platforms like Slack and Zoom.
Do you feel like, because I come from a world where I was one time going to be a counselor, and then I went to kind of the same path where I was in music and I love working with people and individuals, and decided not to go that route. But I've always been fascinated by this whole personality assessment thing. And I always felt Myers-Briggs, StrengthsFinders, whatever, they gave me a slice of my personality, but never got a full view because it either didn't have the context of me working or me in my personal life or that kind of stuff. So I'm asking, so like saying, how does the tech you're using kind of look at the person as a whole? And then what is the value of that in a work environment where the whole question is, do we use an AI for this or a person? Like, we'd love to have to kind of double click in that. But
Yeah. So we are the most robust psychometric assessment on the market today. The vehicle that SurePeople owns is called the Prism. It measures 6, if you count personality under pressure, 7 different module or construct areas. That's 2 deeper than any of the other traditional psychometrics you mentioned. Now, that does take about 30 minutes to complete on average. I'd like to think that's an investment of time that's well worth it. Imagine the impact of some, misaligned communications that couldn't occur if you don't truly understand who you're speaking with. But I think if we look at the vehicle specifically, and I may be slightly biased, but I'd encourage you all to look into this on your own. Prism is the most accurate psychometric on the market today. So we're comfortable that our tool is the appropriate vehicle for powering interactions that matter in moments that matter, on platforms that you already use. So no need to log into different platform, another user ID. You're talking to people on Slack.
Right.
If you had some suggested language that might resonate better with someone you're sending a high leverage message to, for instance.
So curious, because like I work with momentum, and so we work with conversational data from calls and emails and all these kind of interactions with people, which gives you another lens. Is that something where you plan on? I'll use that. I'm going to give you one more scenario, which was I have a friend of mine who was saying like he looks forward to the world where you can take like a sales call and map that sales call to an Apple Watch or something, watching your blood pressure or whatever it is. So you can map out when stressful things happen. So you have this physical data along with the sales conversation data, then mapping like a personality data. You have this really cool view into things that 2 years ago we wouldn't be able to track. Like, do you see a world where that starts to becoming the thing where you have this like personality set, like with Prism, then your physiological data, then like sales data, like all combining into one? Or what do we kind of see coming?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that confluence between AI and biometrics is certainly exciting to think about.
Yeah.
Just real timing a whiteboard session in my own mind here of how Prism data would apply there. I'll have to get back to you on the actual specific applications, but I am thinking about a world where agents are being deployed by people in a number of different capacities. Think about AI SDRs, for instance. And I think there's a lot of pushback from the general population when they feel messaging is like robot speak. It's GPT. Basically the language that everyone uses. What if your personality as determined by a psychometric could be essentially fed into an agent to make the language that it uses sound more like you? And then there would be consistency perhaps between that initial automated outreach and how you actually act when you get on a demo with someone. That could be really interesting to explore.
Do you consider taking out the physiological stuff? Because that's just something I've been nerding out on. But literally though, the information you would get from a sales call as an example, or even like an internal call, is that data that you are using now or planning to use to help with the personality assessment or psychometrics?
No, we're not using any third-party data. There are a number of companies out there approaching like the problem of better understanding a sales prospect by scraping, for instance, third-party data from LinkedIn and posts on Meta and X, and trying to make an assumption that, you know, Jonathan is someone who values direct communication or wants, right?
Oh, let me redefine, because that's not what I'm talking about. Sorry. I meant if you do a psychometric, a Prism on a sales rep, that sales rep then goes on a conversation with a customer. It's not analyzing the customer, it's analyzing the salesperson. Does that make sense? Do you plan on using that, connecting the dots between their Prism half-hour assessment with how they then act with the customer to see like how they are behaving personality-wise and recommendations from like a coaching performance perspective?
That's not an area that we've focused on to date outside of our integration roadmap, including like audience touch points for things like sales coaching platforms. Don would be a great example, right? Even performance management tools, there are expanded applications there. Prism is purely a reflection of who you are, not how you've behaved in terms of interaction with others at this moment in time.
Got it. Tell me this then. I love doing the whole point of the podcast and also the academy is just talking about what's the business impact? Like AI can do something cool. Great. So what? What's the so what from this? And not that I'm not at all trying to demean the tech. I really want to know though, like when companies who have worked with you have employed you, what's been the impact on business as a result of it that you are proud of or can talk to anonymously, obviously, but like the things that can point out of like, how does it impact the team?
Yeah, I'll start by asking you a question. Do you ever feel like too many meetings?
Yes, all the time.
And even the meetings that are necessary, do you often feel like they run longer than maybe they should have, or they waste the time?
All the time. Yeah.
So imagine a world, which does exist, by the way, where prior to heading into a meeting, the participants better understood how the others on that call or in that room were wired. Should they be leading with the why because the group leans toward big picture thinking and that's really valuable? Or should they get straight to the details and the data because this group doesn't care at all about how your kids are or even why the company made this decision? They just want to get the specifics that impact them in terms of what they have to do or what outcome they're trying to produce. So a lot of our customers who are taking advantage of a tool we call SureMeeting that does exactly that. It provides suggestions not only prior to meetings, but also in real time via tools like Zoom. Their application has resulted in a reduced time spent unnecessarily in meetings by their employees, which means time to be focused on work that actually matters. So that's just one example of how we impact the bottom line.
Yeah, I love this lens and angles because I can't tell how many meetings I've been in. I'm like, oh my gosh. And sometimes I'll be like the other day, I'll give you an example. And this probably would help because we should probably use SurePeople for this. But I was irritated because the meeting went longer than it should have. I missed out on a meeting. So I had to stay because it was a leadership meeting. I had to talk through a subject. And then it went off the basis. And so for me, the trigger was it was a very inefficient use of time and wasn't the time and place to talk about it. And so I was frustrated about the situation, but the sales leader thought I was frustrated with him. And he messaged me and said, "You're frustrated with me?" No, it's not you. You're not the problem. It's the situation. Like, I like you. It's just more of, this is not the time or place to be able to do these things. And I wasn't happy about it, So it's like, I think about that from a one-on-one perspective. He had my Prism score, probably would have known that before. And then what I didn't know you did, though, is more the holistic of the group of like, how does the group think about this as a whole? Like that, I think is really powerful to say this group of 4 leaders likes this, so dive in. That's the thing for me as an enabler. In the past, when I had to train teams, I would have loved to known some sort of group psychometric to understand that my team of 20 people in the US market like this. I can train, everything I do is geared towards that communication. That's something that I have to burn through bad trainings or bad response or something so I can learn real time, but I'd rather avoid that, which is pretty powerful. Question for you.
If you don't mind me just interjecting.
Yeah, please.
That's also a great example of why democratizing the deployment of psychometrics across an entire company is so valuable, right? That meeting with 10 people, if everyone in the Prism, is much easier to positively impact when we have a full set of people intelligence data than the old world scenario where maybe 2 of 3 of those 10 people had previously taken disc at an offsite. There are 7 black holes in that room that we know nothing about. And even the 3 people we do have that knowledge for, it's not accessible immediately prior to or during that meeting.
I'm going to ask the question that I hope you don't mind me asking. I'm going to push a little bit because I genuinely want to hear the answer. For people who are looking for things like pipeline generation and for reducing costs and all this other stuff, like there seems to be technologies that could be seen as a nice to have versus a must have. Why in your mind is this? And I kind of can assume the answer, but I want to hear from you. Like, why is this the thing that they're should be looking at as a must have versus, oh, it's a nice personality thing we should have, but it's not, it's more than that.
Yeah. So if we think about a world where headcount, let's face it, is probably on a descending slide across the, overall ecosystem of, call it, start, scale up companies, AI is being used for a myriad of different automated tasks and, getting beyond the basics there. The expected output and, in a related manner, the value of each human individual on teams is rising, I think, just naturally speaking, given those conditions. So the, optimization of the interaction, the communication, the collaboration between more valuable than ever human resources is something that translates directly to an improvement in bottom line. And we hit that bottom line from a few different perspectives. I mean, one of which that great companies understand is culture begets performance, right? If people feel seen, heard, and understood, they're less likely to be flight risks. They're less likely to be quiet quitting. They're less likely to be negatively impacted by a Slack message that they took the wrong way. It may sound kind of fluffy, but great companies understand that they're not, and that culture actually drives performance, and we can have an impact there as well.
Yeah, it's kind of the answer I was thinking you're going to go, because for me, we think about if AI can replicate my voice, my literal Zoom chat, my writing, my everything, the only way I'm able to know if I'm real is on a live call, hopefully, or in person, which means that the relationship or my soft skills as a human being and understanding people is going to be more crucial than ever, because it means that when I interact with people, I need to be way better than I was 5 years ago, because those interactions are more important because everything else is AI automated. You know what I mean? So I 3000% agree with you. Like when you see a world, or think of a world where you have a 10-person team doing $100 million company, that means that 10-person team needs to work together really freaking well because they're all running these different things. And anytime they interact together, it has to be very well optimized and just hopefully not too conflict oriented, like good, healthy conflict, but not the negative kind, So it's fascinating. I'm curious from your lens, what are you excited about, both from your own technology and then from your own personal use of AI? What's the thing you're looking forward to either implementing or using?
Yeah, and I think from our own roadmap perspective, we're investing a lot of time and effort into improving our career coach offering. It's career professional coach, which today is called SureCoach. It's integrated with GPT-4 and taking into account people's individual Prism data to offer a wide array of options regarding people's development. We can build development plans for people via that engine. The tool
Yeah.
offers customized, unique situational coaching. We're just investing a lot of time and effort from a training perspective into that tool and are going to be rolling out in the next, call it 3 to 4 months, an individualized version of that in a manner to professional people who want to take advantage of that tool, which we're very excited about. And in terms of AI in general, I think we're, kind of getting beyond, and I'd love to get your opinion on this as well as someone who's
Please.
studied the space acutely. Like we're beyond the early adopter stage when it comes to generally accessed AI tools at this point. And, I'm excited to see what does version 3.0 look like with regards to how these tools will not only automate mundane tasks and respond to prompts, but more intuitively make suggestions about how we might optimize the way we work.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. I could go on this topic for a while, but I've always been fascinated by the tech like yourself. Like when you have that kind of data from, okay, let me back up a second. I'm a big proponent of using AI to identify hidden data sets that wouldn't be recognized otherwise. Like from, again, like something like momentum, we're pulling all this data from interactions with customers that I knew existed, but I couldn't get either quantitatively or qualitatively. And now I can. Same thing with your tech. Like you get this personality set that always existed. It's just now you have a framework that's unique to you, but you have the AI to be able to extract it. So when I think about the world of being able to have my own, I don't know if army of AI is the right word, but like I have an AI that understands me, understands how I work, understands the team I'm on my place, understands my calendar, understands my to-dos. And I started having this proactive relationship where it's kind of like I like to use Marvel and Jarvis as an example, but it's an AI that understands me and works with me and preemptively does things, but it's not a replacement of me. It's that literal thinking partner that can execute on stuff, but it's more of a creative flow, and having the ability from not only the AI side, but into the physical to where it can do things in the physical world is going to be the part that's going to be, I think, pretty fascinating and fun. Hopefully I'm choosing to believe it's going to be a fun thing.
Yeah, I love that. You get me thinking as someone who's always been obsessed with military aviation. I look at like the HUD system that's available in fourth and fifth generation fighter plane, how it's putting information in the vision of the pilot that needs to be accessible at that moment in time based on conditions in the
Right.
So imagine we're operating in kind of a HUD as sales leaders, a HUD environment, and a message pops up that when your team hasn't provided the V2 of the contract that they were supposed to send your way for a review, and it'll say, "Would you like me to message so and so? Great. Is this
Yeah.
language acceptable? Tell me
Great.
it or say yes to send it." Right? Like that would be really exciting to me because I don't have to remember as a big picture thinker. Now my prism type is coming in. I'm bad with details. I'm horrible with lists. I'm horrible with where attention is appropriately given to minute things that need to be done. But where AI can stay on top of those for me, make reminders, and keep me informed of like how those things are being handled, that's freeing up my time to think creatively about what the next great product might be or how I can help to convince the next great employee to come join my team when, at the end of the day, I agree with you that the individuals that companies hire will be even more important in terms of determining their success or failure than they've ever been in the past. So the more of my time I can free up to network and trying to sell great people to join my companies, the happier I'd be and probably the more effective.
Yeah, that's awesome. We only have a couple minutes left, but I have a couple questions that one's super random. The other ones I'm curious to have. I have two questions and I'll be done. One is because of the aspect of Prism and you having the most accurate personality assessment using AI. I read this interesting article about how many people are using ChatGPT for more of a counseling. I'm going to pull on that because that was my old life once upon a time. Do you ever see a world where that you use it or have another maybe sub company or something where because of the accuracy, the personality assessment that you use it for more of a counseling AI of some kind?
Yeah, that's an interesting application, right? I've had conversations with people involved with our business. I'll just leave it there, who have theorized about using some of our technology in the dating world, the personal development world.
Right.
Imagine your financial planner better understood your personality type. That might lead to a better relationship there. And, I read an article. I can't recall exactly where it came from. I think one of my employees pushed it via Slack today, but it was talking about how people are starting to make the choice to either replace their human therapists or augment them with ChatGPT, and they felt more comfortable talking to the AI than they did to a human, and we're just as happy with the results. So I guess that's a direction that at least early adopters may be open to soon.
Yeah, I remember reading an article from a psychotherapist actually, who when ChatGPT first came out, he was using it along with him. Like he'd record the session with ChatGPT and then have it analyzed based on his psychotherapist stuff. But his opinion was that in the future, he sees or counselors or psychologists, if they're not using AI, they should be sued for malpractice because he got so much good information out of it that was like he had his own assessment, but the thing that AI gave him was things that he was missing. And he just thought it was super valuable, So I just found that interesting. Last question, and hope you don't mind me asking this one, which is with the data you're getting from all the things you're doing with customers, is there a metric or a data set, or is there some insight you're gleaning as you look across different customers that has been the most surprising or fascinating to you of like different personality types, what you're seeing as patterns? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So let's say it's relatively anecdotal, but a pattern is starting to form that would show people who have more what we would call precise personality types. So those are like your architects, your scientists, your researchers from a Prism personality archetype perspective are more likely to use our tools more often. So there's an interesting hypothesis to be made that maybe people who are more detail-oriented are more likely to either trust AI or find it to be valuable than those who are maybe more powerful or versatile personality types. Not that the other types don't use them, but usage frequency seems to be higher amongst precise personality types.
That's fascinating. You see the ones that the opposite, like that I was mentioning to, is more I'm guessing it's gonna be more logical. I know what that is in the Prism, but is it more the people who don't really care about that? Because I know a lot of personalities who don't care about it. Like, yeah, whatever. Just some people just don't care about it, But
yeah, no, I think like the bigger picture thinker, but I'm what's called the catalyst. So more a combination between power and versatility. My lack of attention to detail is where I don't index on the Prism archetype is down there in the precision area. Now, I'm a big fan of tools like this and a big user. I wonder if that's more because of necessity in my vocation than how I'm wired, right? So it's interesting for us to keep an eye on as we get more and more data.
I'd love to, I'm going to put a bug in your ear, but the more you can do any reports that show this kind of analysis, because I think the thing I'm fascinated by is companies like yourself have a unique data set that then share the insights you're seeing across the way. I think those are fascinating reports to kind of show that angle. So by selfish request, whenever you're ready for it, do it. And I'll push that sucker because I love that kind of stuff. So anyways, Russ, thank you, my friend. Like, this is awesome. SurePeople.com is the website, the best place to find you. And I think there's a way for anyone to be able to go in and do the assessment right now. Is that correct?
So somewhat correct. A company that wants to deploy the assessment with 50,000 employees, just simply schedule a demo via our site, and we'll give you the option to roll it out for free forever to all of your employees. And any of your listeners that want to take the Prism personally, just feel free to shoot me a DM via LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to set you up without any other requirement to see the product on a demo.
I love it. I love it. I'm officially asking. So if I can go through it, I'll do it because I love that kind of stuff. Just want to say, Russ, thank you so much. I'll make sure I have all the links to your LinkedIn and obviously the website here in the show notes. But I just want to tell you thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate the opportunity. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the GTM AI podcast. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and come back for more.